I can't believe what I'm going to talk about right now. I mean, we told you everything you need to know about this session, this legislative session. Democrats, full control of Minnesota. We got a transgender bill, basically allows genital mutilation. We've talked about pro-pedophilia language. We talked about the surplus being squandered away. You're not going to get hardly any of it back, and they're actually going to raise your taxes, gas tax, all that kind of stuff. As if it couldn't get any worse, at the 11th hour, basically last night at 11:45 or something like that, I got an email that the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill Conference Committee report is done. So the public, we find out the night before they have to adjourn. Because today, it's Monday, what is it, May 22nd. It's the last day of the legislative session. Per the Constitution, they have to adjourn today. And the Democrats put together this bill, and you won't believe what's in it. They actually allow the death of an infant from a botched abortion. I mean, it doesn't get more evil than that. A baby is born alive. The abortion didn't work, thank God. And that baby's life isn't sacred. That baby's life can't be protected by law. That is what's in this bill. The 845-page Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill. It's actually literally being debated right now on the Senate floor. And they started the debate on the House floor in preparation that's going to come over to them. It's going to pass, by the way. I hate to tell you that. It's going to pass. And even if it doesn't pass today for some reason, they'll call a special session. They'll come back and they'll pass this thing. This thing's radical. So let's look at this language here. You can go to actionforliberty.com to read this article yourself. It's the one with the baby crying. And this is literally a baby can be born in Minnesota from a botched abortion, and it can be killed according to this new change of law. So what Minnesota Democrats have done is they've gone into this section of law, 145.423, and they've struck out language. It's been stricken. There you go. Can't talk. It's been taken out of law to provide medical care. That's what it used to be called. This section was recognition, medical care. They're getting rid of medical and just care. Basically, nothing to be done by a physician and health professionals. They're getting rid of, they're just changing where born alive is put. So they say an infant, they even get rid of as a result of an abortion, which is what that whole part of the law is about botched abortions and children that are being born alive. If you read on, it says, who is born alive shall be fully recognized as a human person and accorded immediate protection under the law. All reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice, including the compilation of appropriate medical records, shall be taken by the responsible medical personnel to, and then they get rid of this, preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. And they just replace that with care for the infant who is born alive. Now, why would you get rid of that language? Because they don't care about preserving life. They didn't want the life. It was a botched abortion. The baby's life doesn't matter to them, even though the baby's been born. So when does life begin? I mean, they used to say at birth, it doesn't even mean a birth anymore. If a baby's born, they'll let it be killed. And you know what? This is the explanation we get from a Democrat senator, Erin May Quaid, one of the most radical Democrats in the Senate. And this is her explanation of this bill.
So I'm going to set the record straight. Abortion is the termination of pregnancy for whatever reason. There are a handful of people in the state of Minnesota every year who find out later in their pregnancy that for whatever reason, they cannot continue to carry the pregnancy to term. At that point, they make a decision to terminate. And what that means for those Minnesotans is that they induce labor, deliver their child. They have an epidural, and they spend the remaining moments of their child's life holding them, caring for them, singing to them, reading books to them, taking footprints of their feet, giving them names, and holding them while they die.
That's a human being. That's a life that needs to be protected. What is she saying? She's admitting that they don't believe that's a human being. That because it's been induced and born alive, but not wanted, then we can allow that baby to die. That's insanity. That is so evil. That is what these people believe in. And they can't argue around this thing. Let's go back to the language of this actual bill, because they repeal this whole section. Subdivision 2 through 9, we only show through 4. Go to actionforliberty.com, you can read it. But in subdivision 2, it says, physician required when an abortion is performed after the 20th week of pregnancy, a physician other than the physician performing the abortion shall be immediately accessible to take all reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice, including the compilation of appropriate medical records to preserve the life and the health of any born alive infant that is the result of an abortion. Actually, the result of a failed abortion. They want to take that away because if the baby's not wanted, we don't preserve the life. It's insanity. And honestly, when does the life begin then at that point? I mean, if a mother doesn't want the baby after 6 months, can it be killed? Like, when does the life begin? I thought at some point we just understood that at least birth was the actual life. But that is what they're taking away from this law. Now, I'm not the only one frustrated. Let's watch Senator Steve Jaskowski explain exactly how bad this is on the Senate floor.
When we go in the course of life of a baby and we go across the point of irrefutable demarcation of life that even the Democrats can't refute is life. They want to allow the circumstances to finish it off. And that's what they do in this bill. It is a sick, sick ideology that is penetrating from the radical elements of the Democratic Party in this state. Members, please vote no on this bill. This is a travesty to the meaning of life. It is a disregard and disrespect for human life. And the Democrats in Minnesota want to write it into law. Thank you, Mr. President.
And he's right. Finish it off. Finish off that kid. We weren't able to abort the baby in the womb, which I would argue is still a life. It's insane. Anyone would say that's not a life, especially at full term. What kind of insanity is that? But because it didn't happen in the womb, we'll allow it to be finished off outside the womb. That's what this law is going to do. This was snuck in an 845-page omnibus bill. We knew about this. This was known as House File 70 or SF70 and House File 91. It was one of the repealer bills that the Democrats are pushing. We thought this thing died, and it got resurrected in the final hour here by Democrats. All Democrats want it, and I'm sure Governor Walz is going to sign this stupid thing. This is what they are doing. They have no respect for human life. I don't know when life begins for them at this point because it's so clear it's not after birth. And you know what's interesting? These con artists, these Democrats from greater Minnesota that led you to believe they were actually not, they were moderates or that they were not on board with the Metro Democrat bosses, they're all getting in line. And they're going to vote for this today, like they voted for every other thing, like your tax increases and not giving back the surplus and the pedophilia language and the transgender surgeries. They're all getting in line. And I'm going to leave you with this. Eric Putnam of St. Cloud, Senator Eric Putnam, even told his constituents, and we got it on video record, I think this was back in March, that he was the one holding up the Democrats from passing this repealer language, this abortion repealer language. Let's listen to Eric Putnam in his own words.
Jan, the repealer was going to be in the PRO Act. It's not because of me. Right? The repealer was supposed to be on the Senate floor about a month ago. It wasn't. Right? That bill, the Repealer Act, is really complicated. It's convoluted. It's not clear. What it does is it takes a lot of the laws that are on the books right now. There's a statute right now that says that you can't have a third-term abortion. There's statute that says stuff about parental notification. A lot of those were considered unconstitutional by a county court in Hennepin. Right? That doesn't count as unconstitutional in my book. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's not good enough to make an argument to say all these things are unconstitutional, we need to throw them out. That's not good enough. And I've had arguments with my DFL Senate colleagues and said, you're not a lawyer. I've had those discussions. And I know I've just upset the back half of the room, but I don't think that bill's ready. I don't think it makes sense.
Senator Eric Putnam, just another lying, coward politician. Get in line with whatever the Democrat bosses want him to do. The radicals are running this damn party. They're running this damn state. And we're all screwed here in Minnesota. They have no respect for life, no respect for our children, definitely no respect for our pocketbooks. And this is what you get from complete Democrat control. We're not going to be done talking about this. Tune in to Truth Hurts every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock. We'll bring you the news you won't get anywhere else. Thank you.